I wrote most of this within a week of my egg fully cracking and then added a few things over the 12 months since. For context, I was insanely repressed for about 27 years, so much so that I had almost no idea I was trans at all. I didn't even know the concept of dysphoria. Then spent 8 years fighting it and explaining it away, then finally accepted it as my egg literally exploded one day and my soul clawed its way out of its transphobia-laden cocoon. Imagine one day you wake up and, as if a switch was flipped, you feel a deep sense of calm confidence that you've never felt and that doesn't go away, all the way down to the pit of your stomach. Other emotions still swirl around, stress still gets to you, and you still have problems, but the calm confidence is always underneath, where before you always had this tension in its place that you often weren't even fully aware of. The mental static that was in your head, both above the conscious surface and in the tension just below it, has magically stopped, and for the first time in your life, you feel like you have a clear head, which got even clearer after starting hormones. Despite the fact that you've always listened to sad songs and angry music, which usually churned that static and helped you feel something instead of the usual nothing or near nothing, suddenly many of those songs don't hit the same, as if what they were hitting has simply disappeared. You also realize that for the first time in your life, you feel like a full person. Before, unaware like a fish is unaware of being in water, you were living in a dark, hollow, hazy shell with a void in your being, going through the motions and doing what you thought you were supposed to do in order to justify your existence. You were half a person, and you were actually living in a kind of hell. You notice that there are things you've repressed your entire life. Indeed, you had hidden many aspects of yourself from your own awareness, and you suddenly feel freer in your expression. You feel as if you're recovering something that was lost on the battlefield of life, like the world had tried to erase your soul and told you that you didn't have a right to exist, because it did. You feel and know that you are essentially the same person, but now better, stronger, more whole, and able to fill in the cracks and deficiencies that previously plagued you and caused problems in your life. You no longer feel the need to compensate to fill the void. For most of your life up to this point, the core part of you was just under the surface, sometimes peeking out through the cracks, but often asleep, tucked away safely and stiflingly. It's as if you didn't notice that you were wearing a mask, a costume, that allowed you to survive and get through life, but now that mask is suffocating and you have to remove it or it will kill you. Along with this comes shifts in behavior, where before you didn't take much care of yourself because you felt so empty, now you want to be healthy, happy, and alive, rather than merely existing. Before, you were very reserved and introverted, in part feeling like you had to control and suppress certain behaviors, a straitjacket composed of societally programmed voices and held together by mental goo. But now you feel a bit more social, expressive, and confident, more comfortable in your own skin. You feel almost as if you've been living someone else's life, as if you were just dreaming the entire time. Aside from the dysphoria, which you're transitioning to reduce, you just feel right and genuinely happy for the first time in life. You feel a distinct and palpable sense of being reborn. In fact, you realize for the first time you feel like you actually do have a right to exist, like you actually matter. You feel bitter and angry for not waking up sooner, for missing out on things, for allowing the void to affect certain decisions, some quite destructive, for allowing yourself to live in a shell, afraid and in many ways alone. But you also realize that the mask was a coping mechanism, a shield from the harsh reality, something your brain thought was necessary to help you survive and help you be worthy of love. So much so that it kept that core part of you largely unaware, safe and hidden away for almost your entire life. But now you are freed of your chains, and you know deep in your bones that you have a right to exist, a right to be your authentic self, and that self is worthy of love just the way it is. You can't go back to how you were before, even if you were to end up losing everyone and everything you care about as a result, including your own life.